We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jeff Kim, and welcome to our CVA Speaker Series. Today, we are honored to welcome Deborah S. Tropp Thompson. I thought I would share some background on Deborah S. Tropp Thompson. She is the founding partner of McNeil Tropp and Braun LLP. And I bet, go ahead and raise your hand. Have you ever met a partner or a founding partner of a law firm before? Not just a lawyer, but a founding partner. Yeah, this is going to be a first for many of us. We have a very special guest today who has been practicing insurance defense litigation for over 30 years. Her educational background includes a BA from many of your favorite schools, UCLA, and a Juris Doctor from the McGeorge University School of Law. I had the pleasure of meeting Deborah S. Tropp Thompson when I attended the Teachers Law School, sponsored by ABOTA, American Board of Trial Advocates, where she is the president this year. CVA Speaker Series is an opportunity to hear untold stories that are shaping communities and sparking social innovation. We explore how everyday people are pollinating the world with purpose. So there's kind of a bee theme here since we are the bees. And so, Deborah S. Tropp Thompson, I just want to give you a bird's eye view of this speaker session, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I would say it's divided up into three parts. The first is a quick introduction for you to share your story. And that's where, when I heard you sharing, by the way, in the courtroom, I was deeply, deeply touched by, because I could tell that the law wasn't just about the work. It was so much deeper. I felt that. Secondly, will be the main course, which will be a series of 5 questions. And then finally, there'll be a conclusion and a challenge that you will give to our students to have. And that will be the end of the speaker session series. So, Deborah Tropp Thompson, would you be able to tell us a little bit of your story of becoming a lawyer and starting a practice and becoming a partner, a founding partner, and a little bit of ABOTA, your story?
Wow. Okay. First of all, my name is a mouthful. Just call me Deb. And thank you so much for having me. I can't really tell my story without going back quite a bit. So it's important that you know about me that I was not born in this country. My grandparents fled Germany just as World War II was getting started, and the only ship they could get on was a ship to South America. So they went to Chile. And my father was born there. My mother was born there. I'm going to make this story shorter than it is. Eventually, there was a dictator named Pinochet who was going to take office in Chile. And so my parents were married, and I had already been born in Chile. And we came here to this country because they wanted to be in America where freedom, democracy, and all of the things that a dictator could not take away were here. So I grew up in an immigrant home, which means, and maybe many of you know about this, but it just means there's a lot expected of you, especially when your family moved halfway around the world for you to have the things that they didn't have when they were growing up. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 10 years old. And that's kind of crazy because not a lot of people would say that. But there's an old show on TV called Perry Mason. Trust me, it's not even probably around anymore. And I used to watch Perry Mason with my dad, and it was this older man lawyer in a wheelchair, but whatever. I was just obsessed with the show and what they did. And I thought, I could really do that. And I was passionate about it. And so I never altered my mind. I just knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I didn't just want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer in the courtroom. And so I went to law school believing that I was going to be a district attorney. I wanted to do criminal law, and I wanted to be a DA, and I wanted to put criminals away, and I wanted to be in the courtroom every day. And as I was graduating from law school, there was a hiring freeze across the entire state of California because there was no money for any new DAs. So I had to quickly shift gears. And I knew that if I went into an area of law called insurance defense personal injury, which basically just means it can be anything from car accidents to slip and falls, but the defense side of it means that there's an insurance company or a self-insured paying. They're the ones that are paying to hire the lawyer to represent them. So I felt like if I went into that kind of law, I could probably maybe get into the courtroom sooner because there would be smaller cases, right? I didn't need some big catastrophic accident. Just give me a fender bender and get me in the courtroom. So I joined a firm, and it turned out to be the right move. By my second year of practicing law, I tried my first case. I'll skip ahead a little bit. I was at one firm for a year. That firm started to have financial problems. So I left and I joined another firm. At this point, I was practicing in LA. I was at that firm for several years, and a lot of people left above me, and I started to grow my trial practice. I was starting to get clients that wanted to use me. I became the managing partner at that firm. Eventually, I was married and I had two babies, and I didn't want to commute from Orange County to LA anymore. So I was courted by a firm in Orange County. They said, come join us as a partner and bring your book of business. I said, okay, great. And within a year, that firm broke up. And at that point, this is probably partly one of my answers to your questions, but at that point, I really was at a crossroads. I didn't have a firm that was a home. I did have a book of business, but I had just moved those clients from my LA office to an Orange County firm. And I made the decision to start a law firm. And I reached out to a man I knew named Jeff Braun, who I'd actually gone to law school with. And he was about the only other lawyer out there that I knew that was doing the same kind of law that I was doing, but who also had a book of business. So on June 1st, 2000, a little more than 25 years ago, we opened McNeil, Tropp, and Braun, and we're still around.
Wow, what an
Oh,
amazing
you want me to talk
story.
about ABOTA still? I
Yeah,
went long.
you know what? Let's talk a little bit about BOTA as well. But already, students, this is like an amazing story of resilience. It began in Germany, and then the continuing journey. Wow, powerful story of resilience. Thank you, Deb, for including
Mhm.
that part of your story as well.
Yeah.
I think many of our students also resonate with aspects of immigration as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, please tell us about ABOTA as well and becoming the president of ABOTA this year.
Okay, so ABOTA stands for the American Board of Trial Advocates. It's a national organization made up of both plaintiff and defense attorneys. And that's an important aspect of it because there's a lot of organizations that are just plaintiff attorneys or just defense attorneys. ABOTA is like the only one that is both. And it is you can only get into ABOTA by invitation only. Somebody has to sponsor you, and you have to have a certain number of trials. And so you have to be a legitimate trial attorney. ABOTA stands primarily for preservation of the Seventh Amendment, which is the right to trial by jury. So you have to have a certain number of jury trials. Somebody has to sponsor you, and you have to be vetted. And by vetted, I mean that civility and practicing with integrity is a huge part of ABOTA. So when you apply to ABOTA, you have to list all of the trials that you've had, and you actually have to list the name and address and phone number of the attorney that was on the other side. And they will call that attorney and find out if you were fair, if you tried to surprise them or sneak something in, if you were not civil, if you didn't have integrity in your practice. And there are people that apply and we vet them and we're like, no, you can't come into ABOTA because you don't practice the way our lawyers require us to practice. So I've been in ABOTA for about 16 years. So I had enough trials about 16 years ago. And for a long time, I wasn't very active. I was really busy growing my practice. I was a mom, I was raising kids, and starting my own firm. So long story short, as big as ABOTA is, it's about 7,000 lawyers across the country. The ABOTA has a foundation, which is a 501c3, a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to education, civics education, professional education, that type of thing. So this year, I was the president of the ABOTA Foundation, which means that I tried to raise a lot of money for more programs. I did fundraising. I put on programs. I traveled. There's 94 chapters of ABOTA across the country. Orange County has a chapter. That's the one I belong to. I would visit the chapters that they were putting on programs. So it's been a really intense, fulfilling, exhausting year, which is almost ending, I'm happy to say. But I'm floating right in January. I'm actually going to be the Orange County ABOTA president. So I do have to do that for a year.
Well, thank you so much for your service and leadership, and our students are benefiting from that connection. So thank you. Now we're going to move on to the 5 rapid fire questions. The first question is, what's the hive or community that shaped who you are today? How do you build your hive? What are the places, people, and practices that renew your energy?
Um, I think I have two hives. One is my family. I am divorced and remarried. And I have two boys that I birthed and two boys that I'm lucky enough to be a bonus mom to. Having a blended family is incredibly important to me, making sure that we've created a family dynamic. And I love these four boys as if they were all mine. And I have a grandbaby now. And so that is a big part of my happy place and where I put as much of my passion and energy that's left at the end of my day into my family. Other than my family, the legal community that I am a part of is a hive as well. It didn't always get to be that way, but I mean, I've been practicing for 34 years. So you develop a reputation, you engage in certain organizations that matter to you, and then you're spending time with like-minded people while you're hopefully your reputation as a lawyer with integrity and civility and honesty, and yet still a great trial attorney. Hopefully that's all coming around. And then you find yourself in this sort of nucleus of really great people that do what you do, believe in what you do. And so I feel like, and my law firm is just sort of an aspect of that. So I feel like I have a home at work and in my work, and then I have an amazing home at home.
A wonderful community, so many blessings. Has
Mhm.
there ever been a sting or a challenge or setback that taught you resilience in your career?
Um, So I'm going to give you a personal and a professional answer to that one too. I told you a little bit about my professional sting, and I would say the hardest thing I had to deal with in my profession was finding out that my firm was breaking up and I had just moved to it and really not knowing where I was going to go or what I was going to do. And I remember sitting down with my dad, who was a businessman, and I said, okay, what does it take? Like, help me figure out, how can I start a law firm? How much money do I need? How am I going to make sure I don't fail? And I had to dig really deep and I had to believe in myself. And I was smart enough to know that Jeff Braun was the right person to do it with. Because I went to law school with Jeff, so I've known him for 35 years. And being in business with someone that you trust like family is the most important thing. Trusting your partner is the most important thing. Um, and on a personal note, so after I divorced, and trust me, I love my ex-husband. He and I are very good friends, and I'm very lucky to have a great friendship and relationship with him. I began seeing a man who I was ready to marry, and he died at 52 of a heart attack before we were able to get married. And I was devastated. I didn't know how I would come through that. And that was probably the hardest time in my life. But I did. And I thankfully found later, years later, the man that is my second husband, who's the best man I've ever known. So just when it gets really, really dark and you think you got nothing left, you just dig deep and somehow it's there. And time does heal time.
Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing some of the challenges. Now let's move to successes. Honey, what
Mhm.
does honey look like for you? What does success look like for you?
Um, I don't think that, I think for a long time, success was, how am I doing in my firm? How's the firm doing? Am I getting new clients? Whatever. I think over time, that is still success. But I really love the extra work I do. I love the civic engagement that I do. I like raising money for civics education. I love teaching. I do teach law school, not every semester, but when I have time, I teach trial advocacy. And I go speak at law schools and I take young first year law students and I have them come work in my firm. I love to train new lawyers. I find that to be extremely rewarding and a really great way to give back. Um, I think, I'm Jewish, and my father used to say that the measure of someone's life can be counted by the number of people that show up at their funeral. And I think that living a life that you're proud of, but also gives back and is one that feel you are worthy of, and you fill your life with people that are loyal and worthy of you, and you are worthy of them. That's the beauty in it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. As we look at global issues now, and it takes many to solve problems, what's one global issue you'd love to swarm with innovative solutions?
You're not going to ask me what my innovative solutions are, right? Because I'm not telling you I have any. I'm just going to tell you what I wish I had them for. I think that, and I know this is probably a political issue, but to me, it's not. I am very fearful of the lack of gun control in this country. Um, if I were to choose a larger issue, it would probably be the homeless issue. I have a very dear friend, Kim Valentine, who is a lawyer and in ABOTA, and a really good friend of mine. And she has a 501c. She was homeless at the age of 15, and she had two children by the age of 18. And she now runs a law firm. And she is incredibly successful. And she has dedicated a good part of her life to starting an organization called Operation Helping Hands that like 4 times a year goes to downtown LA and gives backpacks to the homeless and with all the supplies they need. And she raises money for students that don't have the money to go to college. So because I don't have that on my own to do, I do spend a lot of time helping her with her charity and her charitable organization because I do think the homeless problem is excruciatingly painful to see. And I don't know, I think too many of us ignore it. It's easy to ignore.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your causes. Now, as you look past, or as you look back, what is one idea that you hope spreads everywhere, and why is that important to you? Your golden pollen.
Um, I am not saying that any of the wonderful students on this Zoom are guilty of this, but there is an apathy in this younger generation. Trust me, I have kids in that generation, so I get it. There's an apathy that is painful to see. And so when I say civic engagement or civic learning, what I mean is wake up, get involved, find a way to make a difference. And that is the most important thing that and I didn't really know that that mattered to me so much until the last few years. And I think one of the reasons it really matters to me is because I know that I came to this country and this constitution and this democracy was an absolute gift to me. I don't know if any of the students on here, this is a story. If any of you remember the time, it was a few years ago when there was a big deal going on, Black Lives Matters was happening, and there were football players that did not want to stand for the national anthem. Nod your head if you remember that. Anyway, and so they took a knee, right? And my family room was filled. So I told you I have 4 boys, right? And my family room was filled with my boys and my husband and the dogs, and it was crazy. And we watched that, and I started crying. And my son looked at me, my older son looked at me, and he's like, Mom, what's wrong? Why are you crying? It's okay that they're doing this. I said, you know what? It is beautiful that they have the right to do that. But it hurts me to watch it because of what it means. It means that somebody is not happy or does not feel like this country is for them. And so they don't want to stand up during the national anthem. But that's the beauty of our country. But to have those feelings and to act on them is civic engagement, whether you disagree or you agree, and is so, so vitally important. You can't let this world happen around you. You got to get in it.
I'm going to go a little deeper. The next question is actually the challenge that you want to give the students. So you could speak to the students here, the students that will listen to the recording later. Is there a challenge that you want to give to our students in the community? Maybe it's a little bit of what you shared. Maybe you want to go a little deeper. Maybe a student might say, I have an issue that I care about, but I don't know how to get involved or where to get started. Your thoughts?
So my challenge is to get out. Okay. And when I say get out, I mean, and it doesn't matter what interests you. Okay. So let's say go, go to a courtroom, go to the courthouse, go to a courtroom, walk in and sit through a trial, go to a school board meeting, go see your principal if you have an issue, write a letter to your congressman if there's a stop sign that needs to be put on a street. Like, I'm not saying you're going to get this immediate response, but instead of just seeing things that you wish could change or looking outside of things that you might be interested in, just get up and go do it. I would not be where I am today if I did not take risks and fight for things I believed in, and I'm still doing it. And so find a way to get engaged, and it doesn't have to be political. I mean, if you love a sport and you can go be an assistant coach on that of a kid's team of that sport, you're giving back. I mean, what I'm doing right now is giving to this next generation, and I love to teach. I told you that. So, but you guys are old enough to go teach younger kids, and it matters. So, I don't know, get up, go out, find something to do that is outside your comfort zone, but that interests you.
That's great advice. That also connects to the question that the previous speaker is going to give to you as well. This was council aide to the Anaheim City Council, Mario Valdespino. And the reason why we invited him was because the students just shared that we don't feel connected and we want to feel closer. So we want to invite different people to feel more connected so that students would feel like they can make a difference. And this was the question. How can we push students to be that change?
I'm not sure push is the right word. Um, Listen, we spend so much time looking out instead of looking in. And you've got to take time. And it's hard, right? There's noise and there's things to do, but you have got to take time to look inside and really get to know yourself. And it's only going to get better. Trust me, the me at 16 or 17 was not had much less to say than the me now. But you have to start learning how to have those conversations with yourself. If you turn inward and you ask yourself, what's bugging me today? What matters today? What would make me feel good today? What's something that's bugging me and I'm not doing anything about it? What can I do? Start there, start turning in. And then go to people. If you don't know where to go with it, if you decide, you know what, I have this issue at school and I want to talk to the school board, whatever it is, um, then step outside of yourself. And if you don't know how to do it, find someone that can help you. Feel free to call me, talk to a teacher, talk to your parents, talk to sometimes, you can talk to your friend's mom easier than you can talk to your own mom, like whatever. But find someone that can help you, that can help direct your idea or your thoughts in even the smallest way. And if you do it, you might do it and be like, okay, that wasn't what I thought it would be. But you might do it and be like, okay, that was pretty cool. And you'll have another idea next. But you have to start somewhere. And this entire country was built on people with beliefs and ideas that were so extraordinary and out of the realm of possibility. And yet they had the courage to do it. And it doesn't mean that just because you're at home watching me and I'm still at work in my job and I'm going to be doing the same thing tomorrow and the day after that, it doesn't mean that we don't have change within us. We do. All of us do.
Love that turning in and then going to people that can help and answer questions. Now, here's the final question. What question do you want to ask the next speaker in the series? I don't even know who the next person's going to be, but what question would you want that person to answer?
What's your one regret in life?
What is your one
And I'm
regret?
so glad you didn't ask me that.
Ah, all
If you
right.
have one, what is it? Yeah.
That's a great question, actually. Thank you so much, Dev, for just joining us. There's so much wisdom that we learned from your story. It was so personal and professional at the same time. Your stories of resilience. You answered so many questions that we had about being connected. And this is a US government and politics class. And so we're thinking about what issues matter to us and how can we do something good about it. Thank you for giving us so many ideas to take a step forward. We appreciate you.
Thank you.